1 2 1 2. What's up, y'all? This Ibn Webb, Quran the Sun. Doing this whole official thanks thing here. Got an Essex County all day edition here. Lucky, just lucky and humble. Got a legend coming on. We talk about Essex County here. You know, Coach Bob Lester, one of the greats. Mention his name, he ranks up there with the best of them. Just really just taken back by everybody just willing to jump on and talk or what have you here. You know, like a kid in a candy store stealing penny fish or something like that. Y'all remember that in the little brown bags. But anyway, got him coming on here, and like I said, just gonna talk. And like I said, I'm really just taken back by all this here. I'm just like a kid in a candy store, like I just said. So just hold tight. Good. How you doing, Mr. Lester? I'm Ibn Webb. Call me Quran. Obviously, Quran's my birth name. I really I was just saying before you joke, like a kid in a candy store right now. So I really am taken back by this. Again, yourself and everybody else has just been like so gracious of their time just to talk here just a little bit. I know I just reached out via typing to you, but again, I started this kind of as a thing with my family here. Then I realized, like, I'm from Jersey. I'm actually from Orange, born and raised in Orange. I ended up going to Montclair for high school, so I'm familiar with Montclair. I actually went to grammar school in Montclair up until about 5th grade. So, but as far as athletically, I played football, basketball, baseball. So, like as a young kid, so I've kind of been all over as far as in regards to Essex County. But outside of just playing, I just always just kept tabs on any and everybody, just from coaches to players to, your crazy fans to refs, everything, So I'm just so enamored by just being from Jersey and Essex County in particular. So obviously when they say Bob Lester, I mean, it don't get no better than that, And like I said, I just really, like I said, appreciate you just taking time out of your day here. I'm a little jealous when you told me you was down in Atlanta here. So I'm sure you got some nice weather going on. So, but again, thank you. That's kind of the short story, Cliff Notes version of how this came about here. So again, I appreciate your time, sir.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I like doing these things. Telling things that many people might not know.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at your example, I saw you had Greg Tynes on. That's Greg. It's amazing. I coached East Orange when Greg was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I coached against him. I coached Montclair when Greg was coaching. Okay, we went up against each other in the ETT final.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with Greg at a summer basketball camp he had at Clifford Scott High School in East Orange. So, Greg and I have become very good friends. We went from adult to student. Now it's progressed into adult to adult, and I think we have a lot of respect for each other. Greg has done some wonderful things, along with a lot of others, but I'm proud of Greg. I don't know if he's going to listen to this one day, but I'm very proud of Greg. I never told him that. He represents Essex County very well.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I'm sure he'll have his ears to it. I think whoever knows that you're on, it's like a mystical kind of thing. They'll know that you're on, and who's who that knows you or knows of you is going to check this out. So, and also I just want to give credit to, as far as I know you had an article not too long ago with Mr. Mike Lamberti too. So I was able to talk to Mr. Lamberti as well too, and I know he suggested trying to flag you down here. So I guess just with the worlds of technology, I mean, obviously that was able to happen. So I definitely want to give him some credit here too, just for saying you'd be great to talk to. Not difficult at all. So again, so just to kind of get into it, just we're at Essex County. I mean, like, what does it mean to you being from Essex County? Where are you from and all that stuff?
Well, actually, I was born and raised in Newark.
Okay.
I spent the first 25 years of my life in Newark. First 5, we lived in a place that no longer exists. They tore down that area where I was born, and they built the Stellar Wright projects there. I don't know if you've ever heard of Stellar Wright projects, but they were placed on that land that I used to live in. So, one day I went looking for the street I was born, which was Lilly Street, and it's no longer on the map. It's just gone. I lived there for 5 years, and they relocated us to Baxter Terrace project. They'd been there for a while, but they were right on the borderline of the Central Ward and the North Ward. 3-story projects, but what had been replaced where I lived, Stellar Wright, I think there were like 13 stories. And I always said one thing, because some great people came out of there. Larry Hazard, who was the commissioner of boxing in New Jersey, and great official, great boxer, amateur boxer himself. He's from that area. A lot of other people, and I said, that's a lot of people in a very small space.
Yes.
It wasn't as if they went, horizontally, and made it a large piece of land. They went vertically and, went up, and they were able to accommodate a lot of people. But 13 stories, I thought, was a lot of people, in that area. But a lot of, they made it work somehow, and Stellar Wright thrived for a long time. My aunt, in fact, when they sent us to the Baxter Terrace, they sent my aunt, my mother's sister, to Stellar Wright. So I could have been going to Southside, if I would have went to Stellar Wright, or possibly Central. But where they sent me, I could have gone to Barringer, or I could have went to Central. Fortunately, I went to Central for me, because Barringer actually turned out to be a baseball school. And, where I was at, projects, we couldn't play too much baseball. Although a lot of people don't know this, baseball, my favorite sport.
It's your favorite sport?
Not basketball, but baseball is my favorite sport. But we couldn't play baseball in the projects. This wasn't played a lot of softball, but not baseball. We had to walk like 2 miles up to Branch Brook Park in order to, get a game. And it's hard getting, 18 guys together, 9 on each side, to walk 2 miles to play a game. So we took what we could. If we could get 7 guys, we, improvised somehow. But, Newark was what it was. I love Newark. That's my hometown. And so I have a lot of good things to say about Newark. I know there are a lot of negative things that have gone on there, but, I loved it. I loved my time growing up there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned baseball was growing up. As far as, was that your first love because that's how it became your favorite, or was it just basketball? I mean, in the neighborhood, did you guys just, obviously you mentioned Branch Brook Park as far as baseball, but basketball, did you just start picking that up at an early age too, as far as the joy and wanting to play?
Well, actually, baseball is my favorite sport because back then, I was born in 46. I don't remember too much of what went on in the 40s. I was, still very young, but I do remember things started falling into place psychologically. I grew older in the 50s, and baseball was America's, as I said, pastime,
right?
And so we all love baseball.
Okay.
I bet I'm not the only person who was my generation that had baseball as their first sport. Sports love. But like I said, we couldn't play as often as we wanted to. We tried, but we couldn't play. But the playground we had, and Karan, I'm telling you, the playground we had was maybe 50 to 75 feet wide. 50, 75 yards wide, and about 100 yards in length. No, not 100 feet. I'm right the first time, 100 feet in length. So we couldn't play baseball. It was too small, but we did have a basketball court there.
Okay.
So, young people, we wanted to do something. So we played a lot of basketball. And so that's how come I became a lover of basketball. But baseball still remained as my favorite sport. I followed into the 50s. I followed Jackie Robinson. He
Right.
broke the color line in
Right.
47. But, in the 50s, there were actually, there were three teams. New York Yankees hated them, the Yankees. There was the Brooklyn Dodgers because of Jackie Robinson. We loved them. And
Mhm.
there were the New York
The Giants, right?
Giants.
Right.
And, they had Willie Mays, and, so we liked it. But I loved Brooklyn, and it broke my heart when they moved to California back in 1905,
Mhm.
Um, um, you know, you couldn't get a basketball game on. I mean, professional basketball game,
Yeah.
not during that time.
Mhm.
So we watched a lot of baseball. We listened to a lot of baseball on the radio. We could sit down and listen to a whole game, a 2 hours and a half game, and just talk about that, even as kids. But it wasn't something that we could play a lot, so we played.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I mean, circumstances caused you to pick up that round ball there and start playing as well too. So, did you guys, instead of taking that little 2 mile walk or so to Branchbrook, as far as did you go around the different playgrounds or what have you to play basketball growing up, or?
We visited a lot of different playgrounds and also a lot of different gyms.
Mm-hmm.
We used to. I went to a school called a grammar school called Central Avenue, and at night they used to have a recreation program.
Okay.
Just about non-existent now, at schools. So we used to play there 2 or 3 nights a week, and then there was another school, a grammar school in the area called Burnett Street School. I think it's still standing, and it's over 100 years old. And we played there, at night. We would also go to places like Cleveland Junior High School.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the stars play. I couldn't go there until I was in high school,
Yes. Yes.
because I wasn't good enough to play. And we went to Sussex Avenue Elementary School. We went to places in the other parts of the Central Ward. So we went all over to play.
Yeah.
And we were welcome. They knew we weren't from the area, and it was like a challenge. But there was never any violence or anything like that. We just played. We argued a lot, but we enjoyed it. After the game, we'd shake hands, and do things like that. So I must have played just in Newark, I would say 10 to 15 different playgrounds or gyms coming up through high school.
Now, interesting as far as you get to high school, so you go to Central. Now, it's interesting times in Newark, obviously in high school. How was it? I mean, again, the rise of civil rights and all that. How was it just playing basketball? Was that just an escape from everything, or, how was it for you?
I'm sorry. Actually, back then, they had the school system grade-wise was you went to grammar school from kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay.
Then you went to 1 year at a junior high school. And then you went 3 years high school. I went to Central Avenue Grammar School for K to 8. Then they sent me to a junior high school called Robert Tree, and which was, in another part of the Central Ward. Remember, I was still, even though I was in the Baxter Terrace Projects, close to Barrington, I was still in the Central Ward. And then during the middle of the year, they transferred me from Robert Tree Junior High School to 7th Avenue Junior High School, which was actually in the North Ward, because they had reclassified the wards. I guess it was around election time. So they, reclassified everything. So the first half of my 9th grade, I spent at Robert Tree. The second half, I spent at 7th Avenue. And I didn't get to Central until 1992, but that was my sophomore year. It wasn't like we had 4 years of high school. We only had 3 years.
Nah, interesting. You mentioned that because here's a name for you. And then when you said Cleveland, as far as playing over there, and couldn't wait. Obviously, the best of the best played there. I was able to talk to Melvin Knight. The name, yeah. So he talked about, shared his experiences about Cleveland as well too. So you get to Central. You get to see, how was it for you as far as now you're in 10th grade, you're in high school? How was that, just those years for you?
It was intimidating first year because, here we come into a high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget when I came to Central as a 10th grader, um, we had a escort that took us around to show us the school.
Okay.
And so they took us by the locker room area in the hall. It was lockers in certain hallways. And they took us by a locker. There's about 5 or 6 of us in this group. And they said, "This is Larry Hazard's locker." Wow. They said, "Whatever you do, don't mess with his locker. Don't mess with Larry Hazard." Because Larry was a very good boxer, martial artist, and great person. Believe me, he never messed with anybody, but you didn't mess with him either. You respected him. So, that sophomore year, my first year, was sort of intimidating. I was almost invisible. I just did my work, and I didn't go out for the basketball team my first year. My second year, my junior year, I was a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
My game had improved. I didn't have an awful lot of confidence. People told me, they said, "You should go out for the basketball team." Right? I never thought I could make it. They had guys on the team like Bill Key and Vic Morton and Willie Jennings. They won a state championship that year. But I didn't have enough confidence to go out, so I missed that. I should have gone out. I probably would have made it, but I didn't. My senior year, I said, "What the heck? I'm going to go out for the team." And I went out for the team. I made the team, started for the team. We finished 26-1, won the Group 4 state championship, and finished as the number 1 team in the state of New Jersey. And I was a starter for that team. That was overwhelming itself. But if I would have had confidence, I would have went out for the team as a junior, and we would have been back-to-back state champions.
Yeah, see, good lessons learned here as far as just with confidence, and once even those that's great. I think as far as just in regards to just the whole build up to you getting there, then obviously you get on the team, they win the chip. You win the chip there. So you have a college decision to make. How was it? Was it expected, from your family that you're going to college, or was it just basketball helped that path?
Basketball helped. If I didn't play the basketball, I would not have gone. Have gone to college. It just wasn't, something that was expected in my family, and in a lot of African American families. Back then we were called Negroes. So, it wasn't expected for a lot of us to go to college, especially projects. It wasn't expected for you to go to college. So I didn't play basketball. I would not have gone to college. I'm not saying I wouldn't have eventually gone to college, but I wouldn't have gone to college right after high school.
Right.
I might have gotten a job in the post office or doing something else. Or, if you fall in with the wrong crowd, you can get into that thug life.
Easily.
And even though I wasn't that type of person, sometimes it can be attractive. But fortunately, there were enough sound voices that said, don't go that way, and spoke to me. By playing as a senior, my coach, he helped me to get into a junior college in Kansas. And that, Karan, believe me, was an experience. Oh, boy. But anyway, I did go to college right after high school, but it was awesome basketball.
So that experience, how much of a culture shock is that? North to Kansas, like how was that?
Wow.
Yeah, especially in those times. Yeah.
Yes, that's the key. In those times, 1964. When I say we, there were 3 of us that went from Central. And this is the reason I was able to go. I was like thrown in as a package deal. 2 of the players on that team that I played for were all staters. Willie Jennings and Drayton Bembry, they were all state ball players. But they needed academic, you know, movement in order to go. So our coach, Matt Lombardi, God rest his soul, he said to the coach from the name of the junior college is Fort Scott Community College. It's not a military base, although I don't know if it has a military history. The name of the town was Fort Scott. He said to the coach from Fort Scott, if you want Drayton Bembry and Willie Jennings, you got to take Bob Lester. Mm-hmm. So the coach really wanted those two. So he took me, but he never really wanted me. He wanted those two. So he took me. That's how I wound up as a throw.
Yeah. Well, the throw-in still helped out because you go down there. Do you stay 2 years or you just do the 1 year? Or
I stayed 2 years, but I didn't play my first year because of my injury.
Okay.
But I, for whatever reason, like I said, I didn't have any place else to go, so I came back for a second year. I really wanted to play basketball. At that time, playing basketball was probably more important to me than academics.
Yeah.
But I think in my second year, when I came back and play, there was a coaching change. Coach we got, he stressed, academics. So I began to really buckle down and study hard. And actually that second year at Fort Scott, I had a 4.0 grade point average.
Okay.
So, the difference, I think, first year, my grade point average was just under 2.0 because I didn't have the interest. I just wanted to play basketball. But the second year, when academics were stressed to me, I had a 4.0. And that helped me later on, as we probably will get.
No, that's all right. And I mean, again, obviously, everyone has a different time frame when things start to click, whether it's academics or just in life in general with different phases of people's lives is. So you go from Kansas, you come back to Jersey for the rest of your college. How did that happen? Was Montclair State your only choice, or it was just you just wanted to get back home?
Well, that latter part, yeah, I just wanted to get back home because I played my second year, and I had a decent year. I was the second leading rebounder on the team. Our center was the leading rebounder. And there was a school in Missouri who offered me a full scholarship.
Okay.
And I wrote back to the coach and said, "Coach, thank you. I'm going back home."
Yeah.
The experience of a young African American being in Midwest was very, very trying. Mm-hmm. I would say my first year there, we must have had maybe 25 African American young men come to Fort Scott. 80% of them didn't return the second year.
Yeah.
They just could not take some of the things they had to experience. But in fact, one of the guys I came out there with in that package, Drayton Bembry, who was All-American, he didn't even last 2 weeks. He got out of that place. He got out of Fort Scott after the first 2 weeks and went to Tennessee State. So Willie Jennings and I stayed, and we came back. Both of us came back for our second year. But some of the things that we had to experience were just so difficult, especially for me. It could have given me a brand new car besides a scholarship, and I wasn't staying out in the Midwest. I wanted to go back home.
Yeah.
So I talked to the coach, and he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, I want to go back home, sir." He wrote to some schools in New Jersey. And back then, there weren't very many D1 schools. There was Rutgers, there was Seton Hall, and there was Princeton. And of course, my academics, weren't going to get me to Princeton, so that was out. Rutgers I don't think skill-wise I was ready for that. Seton Hall, I don't think I was ready for that. But one of the state schools, Montclair State, it showed interest in me. And so I went to Montclair State for a visit with the coach. I met with some of the academic counselors, took the tests to get into the school. Montclair State's a very good academic school. It was the best. Back then they were called teachers' colleges. It was the best teachers' college in the state of New Jersey. And so I took the test. The guy gave me a chance. He wasn't going to do it, but when I showed him that 4.0 average I had,
that's right.
Beginning of that, when he saw that 4.0 average, he said, "Okay, I'll give you a chance. I'll put you into the next phase of the academic progress." And without that 4.0 average, Montclair State would have said, "No, we can't do anything for you." So I took the second phase, passed that, and I became a student at Montclair State.
So you get back home, you get to Montclair State, your confidence, basketball is pretty much intact. Do you, playing wise, do you play right away, or do you still have to pay your dues just to get going?
Actually, when I transferred into Montclair State, it was my third year of college,
right?
But I was like a red shirt sophomore.
Okay.
Because I only played 1 year of the two at junior college. I had 3 years of eligibility. So I started all 3 years. Came in Montclair State and started immediately.
Okay.
I was, the leading rebounder all 3 years, and one of the leading scorers all 3 years. I averaged what they would call now a double rebounds and points all 3 years. So when I came to Montclair, I moved right into a starting spot. Yeah.
Now back then, Montclair, what schools were they playing back then?
Back then, they were playing other state schools.
Oh, the Trenton, the New Jersey schools?
Excuse me?
The New Jersey Conference, yes. Was that in place back then, the Trentons and Jersey States?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of them had different names. Montclair State College is now Montclair State University. Newark State College, as it was called then, is now Kane College, named after former governor.
Okay.
Glassboro, Trenton State, they all changed their names to Stockton and College of New Jersey and things like that. But yeah, it was state colleges. We also played a school called Monmouth.
Right.
They weren't a state college. They were a small private institution. They were in AIA.
Okay.
And we played some schools from Connecticut, Central Connecticut State, Southern Connecticut State. We played a couple of schools from New York. So it was the metropolitan area that we played.
Okay. No, good stuff. And I know as you're playing, what have you, do you give any thought, what am I going to do next as far as that time gets near, as far as, your school career?
Well, I never thought anything about it because, like I said, back then they were teachers' colleges. So it was expected that when you went there, no matter it was New York State, Trenton State, whatever, you were going to be a teacher.
Okay.
I would say 75% of the graduates of those state schools didn't become teachers. 25% went into other areas. Most of the people who graduated from those state schools became part of the educational force in New Jersey.
Okay. So you graduate with some kind of educational degree?
Yeah, I graduated with a BA in education.
Okay.
Actually, I was phys ed and health, but the courses they had me take, because I had put in 2 years of junior college, I had a whole bunch of credits. So they gave me some other science courses. So actually, I was like 3 credits short of being able to teach general science, which I didn't want to do anyway. I mean, I enjoyed teaching phys ed and health. I didn't want to teach general science, but I wouldn't have been, 3 credits short. If I wanted to teach science, I could have gone back and gotten those 3 credits. Wasn't interested.
Yeah. So
Not
where's the
science?
sciences? Yeah. You got to be a special individual to do science.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where's it? So when the culture bug, when does that like kick in, and when does that just happen?
The coaching actually, it started once I graduated from Montclair.
Okay.
I got a job teaching at East Orange High School, although that's not the first place I applied for a teaching job. I applied for a teaching job at Newark. And to my surprise, when I went down there with my college degree under my arm, thinking I'm going to get me a job, I went to personnel and they told me there was nothing they could do for me. And I'm saying, what?
Yeah.
But anyway, the next day disappointed, I took my to East Orange High School. A friend of mine told me East Orange was hiring. They hired me that same day. And I was disappointed because I wanted to teach in the school system, which I had attended. I wanted to help some young people, navigate that difficult terrain. Don't waste so much time, physically strong as you possibly can. Don't give up sports. Don't give up the things you like.
Right.
But get the best education you possibly can. But unfortunately, Newark had nothing for me, so I went the next day, as I said, and I was hired immediately as a teacher in East Orange. But at the same time, my former coach, Ollie Gelston, said, Bob, I'd like for you to come and be an assistant coach at Montclair State. I said, okay. I didn't have anything else to do. I was doing master's work, but I put that off for a year to concentrate on becoming a coach. So coaching really kicked in the year after I graduated.
Okay.
State, because my former coach brought me in as part of his staff.
Interesting. And then obviously you learn from your former coach, and then it's just kind of like, hey, I want to do this on my own. Is it just kind of, or was it some kind of progression, or you just knew that's what you was ultimately going to do?
That's a good point, Ron. Once I spent a year coaching, I said, you know what, this isn't bad. I might like to do it, but I didn't want to be an assistant.
That's right.
I wanted to be the head man.
Absolutely.
And so, after the second year at Montclair State, because I was teaching at East Orange for years before I became the head coach, it had gotten into my blood, but I wanted to be the head man. And when the head coaching job opened up at East Orange High School, I applied for it. Fortunately, I was given a chance to become. And the rest was history. With East Orange High School, it got into my blood to coach. Yeah. And I've always said this. I've always said this. The game of basketball, if you love it, play it as long as you can. Can't play it any longer, coach it. Once you can't coach it anymore, then try and stay with the game by becoming an announcer or something like that, which I did because at that time cable was coming into play in a lot of homes. So I became, once I stopped coaching, became an analyst at TV3, which is now Comcast, announcing games. So
yeah,
I love basketball. Not as much as baseball, but I love basketball. I coached it. I played it. I coached it, and I was an analyst for a while.
I remember seeing TV3 and everything. Mr. Lester, I'm not going to let you off the hook that fast as far as trying to breeze by this coaching life for yours here. You remember your first practice? You as a head coach?
That's a good point. Do I remember the first practice? Yeah, I have an idea. First practice was the tryouts. Okay. I remember I had seen, since I had taught there for 2 years and went to some of their games and had some of the kids in class, I knew some of the players that could, what they could do.
Mm-hmm.
So my first year, we had tryouts, and pretty much 75% of the team, I knew who I wanted because they had played the year before, So a lot of it, there were some very good players who didn't make the team, but that wasn't because I was biased against them. It's that East Orange gets so much talent.
Yeah.
And I had to choose. There was I don't know if it's still in effect, but I guess it is. You could only have a maximum of 15 ball players on your team, or you could take the state tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if you had 17 guys on a team, when the state tournament rolled around, you can only shoot up 15 of those guys. So who are you going to tell, well, you can't, be with the team because they only allow us to have 15. So, I made sure I didn't go over that limit. But, it wasn't that difficult to pick the first 10 guys. The most difficult part of it was picking the last 2 to 5 players.
Yeah.
And maybe that's when I found out just how difficult it was to cut players.
Mm-hmm.
Because you literally broke some kid's heart
by
telling them they can't play.
Right.
Some people, I'll never forget Cleo Hill, Cleo was a legend in New York and should have been a professional legend, but his story,
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. But when he was coaching at Essex County College, he was one of the great coaches. He used to tell guys during cut time, he said, son, you're pretty good, but unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go. Maybe we'll be better next year, So he would cut him that way. He made it as general as he possibly can. I would put up a list. Okay. I had 40 or 50 guys trying out for the team. I put up a list of about 15 guys, and the next day they would come in, they would look at that list, and when you looked at the faces of some of those kids, they were
I'm sure, especially still being in the school as far as staff in the school too, having to see. I can only imagine. But again, best of the best, and is East Orange obviously just tons of talent, so it's tough. So you get going in the Big Ten there.
Yeah.
How was it? Again, I know that's a broad statement, but how was it?
Well, the Big Ten was a very competitive conference. They had Orange High School.
Mm-hmm.
They had Bloomfield High School. Bloomfield was, I would say, at that time, they were the class of the Big Ten.
Okay.
Because going back to the early 60s, maybe into the 50s, Bloomfield, I don't know if you noticed, they had what was the second longest streak, consecutive game winning streak of 64.
Mm-hmm.
George Sella and the Bloomfield guys, they put together a 64-game winning streak, so they had a great history. The only other streak that was longer at that time, you'd have to go back to the early 1900s. It was a guy by the name of Professor Blood, who coached at St. Wonderfy. They won 105 games.
Ooh.
Now, of course, there weren't that many teams playing basketball back then, but still a great accomplishment. 105 consecutive games.
105.
That was amazing, So Bloomfield was a very good team. Orange is a very good team. And I would say of all the schools in the Big Ten at that time, besides East Orange, Orange, and Bloomfield, we had Irvington, we had Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
They really weren't rivals because they didn't have that basketball pedigree. Although later on, they produced some very good players, but East Orange, and Bloomfield. I mean, they always had very good players. But those are our two biggest rivals, Orange and Bloomfield.
Okay.
And the entire conference, Belleville, Nutley, they had very good athletes. But, in basketball, it was East Orange, and Bloomfield for many years.
Mm. Now, what's your coaching style like back then? I mean, you might have, or you just kind of adjust to the talent you had? I know each coach does things. Some were sticklers with their own system. Some adjust to the players. Like, what was your style?
My style basically was, I was a copycat. I think a lot of people, first going into coaching, become copycats. What my college coach, Ollie Gelson at Montclair State, had taught me, that's what I tried to bring to East Orange High School. Well, the same offense, same defensive philosophy.
Okay.
So, we became a high school that pretty much resembled Montclair State.
Okay.
That's what I knew. So, many coaches borrow from other programs.
Right.
That's why you go to clinics and stuff like that. Look up, but things you can pick up and bring back to your program. So, we were like my college team. Yeah, I had the same philosophy that my coach taught me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and to your point, you just put your own little wrinkle or twist to it. Yeah, a lot of people. Absolutely. Yeah. You get going with these county tournaments. I mean, again, I know that's like when you talk about Essex County basketball, you talk about them county tournaments, and then you get going as far as just winning them. I mean, just how was that first one? How winning that first one? You remember?
Well, the first I coached at East Orange 6 years. I taught there 8 years. I had to become, as I said, a coach until my third year there. And we made the finals of the ECT each year. So we lost the first few times in the ECT when I was coaching. First year, we played a team from Weequahic.
Okay.
But they were good. They were the second-ranked team in the country. They had Lou Grimsley. They had Wilbur Ross and Ron Ferry. They were really good. And they beat us in the finals of the ECT. Pretty easy. They won by 8 points, but it wasn't like it was any type of close game. They were in control all the way.
Okay.
So that first ECT game, first ECT final, we tried, but we just couldn't get past them. But we did avenge that loss. We beat Weequahic in the sectional tournament, sectional final. Okay. They were in the same group. We were in group 3. They were in group 3. We turned the tables on them, and then we beat them. Those are the North Jersey section 2. Second year, we made it to the finals. And guess who we faced in the finals that year? My alma mater, Central High School.
Yeah.
Okay, that was tough.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yes, it was. I had so much love for Central. That was my school. I always hoped to get as a coach, if I never did. But we lost that final by 1 point. And then the third year, we played. 1974, we played Greg Tynes, who was he was great. He had the progress he made from his junior year to his senior year. People can't believe. It was amazing. But we played Orange in the final. They were the number 1 team in the state of New Jersey, and rightfully so. They were good. Yeah. And they had beaten us twice in the regular season. And we played them in the finals of the ECT. Fortunately, we were able to beat them in the finals of the ECT for their only loss. And that was my first victory in the county tournament. Now, that goes back to, let me take you back to my senior year in high school. We lost 1 game. Won the state tournament, we lost 1 game. And guess what? It was the finals of the ECT. We lost to, Southside, then it's Shabazz now. So it took me 3 tries one as a player, two as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I won my first ECC final.
Yeah, but once you get that monkey off your back, that was the first of what, 4 in a row, I believe, correct?
Yes, we won 4 in a row. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so it must have just been a great time as far as being at East Orange High, just the city in itself. I mean, it must have been kind of somewhat electric, I guess, especially around basketball season. You know,
It was.
Yeah.
It was electric. You know, East Orange was at that time, they were good football too. Matchups with Montclair, you know, they were really good. And they had a coach by the name of Tom Dean, who was Hall of Fame coach, some high school Hall of Fame coach. And so, you know, we had to, you know, play well just to, you know, because the students of Montclair, the town of Montclair, they expected to win in football. And, you know, I had to keep up that same expectation. Now, and I want to say this is important. When you talk about basketball, East Orange was good before I got there. Okay. Yeah. In 1969, with Greg James, they beat a Perth Amboy team in the state finals that had Brian Taylor, who played for the Nets for a number of years. They won a championship in '69. And in 1970, they played again in the state finals and lost the state finals to Camden Wilson. And in 1971, year before I became coach, they were good. So East Orange was good before I got there. So I had to keep things up. The pressure of football, the pressure of them being, you know, a recognized basketball powerhouse. I had to take a good program and try and make it better. And that was tough to do.
Yeah, tough, but again, that you did, though. That you did. And I think even with that being said, can I ask, you thought you would stay at East Orange forever? Or, I mean, or I know a time came when you obviously ultimately left. Like, was that a tough decision to leave, or was it other circumstances?
There were some circumstances that led to the decision. I didn't want to leave East Orange, and I wasn't forced out. It was a promise that had been made, you know, to me, which wasn't kept. I was so disappointed. I said, "I'm not coaching anymore." I expected them to come back and say, "Okay, well, we're going to keep the promise we made to you," but they didn't. They said, "Okay, you're going to leave. Go ahead and leave." So I left and resigned, and I went to Atlantic City. And even though we had some great players at Atlantic City, believe me, I only stayed there 2 years. I hope we might have time to get into why I only stayed 2 years. But I think one of the biggest, I don't know if I want to call it a mistake, but one of the biggest disappointments was leaving that East Orange program. I should have stayed at East Orange. They treated me well. When I talk about what happened, it happened outside of, it happened politically.
Okay.
It was politics that had to play into it. But I really enjoyed East Orange High School. All my friends were there. Yeah. You know, the program was going well. We had done so well. We had made 4 state championships and lost the 5th one by 1 point. We made it to the semifinals, just missed making 6 straight times in the state finals of the state tournament. We did make it 6 straight times in the county tournament. We won 6 straight North Jersey Section 2 titles. You would think I had it pretty good, and I did. But when, you know, that political thing got into it, that disheartened me. You know, if you're going to make me a promise, live up to your promise.
Right.
And it didn't happen. And I don't know why it didn't happen, what changed their mind. I don't know if somebody got in the ear or whatever, but I think I should have stayed at East.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you know, they said, well, leave, thinking like you wouldn't go. And, you know, right. So don't call my bluff. You know, I got a question. Again, I mean, it's kind of loosen it up a little bit in regards to that whole transition. Now, that's a heck of a commute, East Orange to Atlantic City every day. So I'm assuming you packed your bags as well too and had to live down there.
Oh yeah, we got a house in East Orange, very good house in East Orange. And I told my wife, I said, that wasn't sure. Like I said, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to, give up what we had established. But like I said, we had a nice home in East Orange. I told my wife, I said, look, you stay here, take care of the kids, and you guys can come down on the weekends, but just give me a chance to see what it's like to be in Atlantic City. If I like it, then we'll move the family down there.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, my wife didn't want to go. She didn't want to stay. She wanted to be wherever I was.
Okay.
We had to sell the house. We moved to Atlantic City. I wound up staying there on 2 years. So, that didn't work out too well. But anyway, that's what happened. So we had to up and move everything. And I had to leave all my friends behind and things like that. So it turned out to be a big move, a heavy move. And when I look back upon it, I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think to say, I mean, we all have them as far as moves, and we look back, but I guess the light at the end of the tunnel with this one, you got opportunity to come back. Not necessarily Starge, but what was the Lord of Montclair? I mean, is it just to get out of Atlantic City, or you just thought it was just a good fit, whether it was coaching and or just being in the schools?
Well, after 2 years in Atlantic City, I realized I didn't want to live in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Now, even though the casinos had come to Atlantic City, and the kids, the people down there, they were great. I mean, I love those kids in Atlantic City. But living in Atlantic City, what a divided town. All Black kids and families lived on one side of town. All the white families lived on the other side of town.
Mm-hmm.
It was as racially divided as, it reminded me of back being out in Kansas, And when I had some of those kids in Atlantic City, really good kids, before they started building affordable housing, those families that lived in, it's what's known as the inlet. It's way down the boardwalk, almost toward another part of the end of the boardwalk. That little area there called the inlet, where most of the kids, not all of them, most of the kids lived. They were living in substandard housing.
Yeah.
You can almost say, and I noticed it often, they were living in shadows. I mean, one time I went out, I went to my guys I met down here took me to a bar to get a beer in that neighborhood. And this is 1977, 78. Bar we went to, and a pot belly stove, and that's how they got their heat. I mean, it's 77, 78.
Right.
I couldn't believe that this was happening. But yeah, those people lived in some terrible conditions. And I couldn't take it. I just couldn't live there. And there was nothing I could do. That was the political system. That was the way things worked down there. Casinos came in, they had more say than I did, but, they hadn't decided to move and build up that part of the town. The first part of the town they built up was the boardwalk, because that's where the casinos were.
Right.
And, I said, look, I can't be a part of this. So I decided to leave Atlantic City. When I resigned from Atlantic City, I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't have no job. I just said, I can't take it, so I quit. And so I started writing some letters to people I knew up north. And here's an interesting thing. The principal at Clifford Scott he's passed on now, was one of my friends at East Orange High School. He was the vice principal at East Orange High School. He was now the principal at Clifford Scott High School. He said, Bob, come on back to Clifford Scott because we have an opening. You got a job here. So there was my job. I had a job. I had something to go back to. But somewhere along the way, some of my other friends who lived in Montclair said, Bob, why don't you come up and talk to the superintendent of Montclair? We need a coach too.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. So I went to talk to the superintendent of Montclair Public Schools, and I'll put it this way: he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Okay.
So that's how I wound up at Montclair High School. My friend at Clifford Scott, I had to tell him, I said, can you top this? And they couldn't top it. So I said, I've got to go to Montclair High School. So that's how I wound up.
Mm. Oh, interesting. Now you get to Montclair. Now with Montclair, obviously, there's probably some similarities. I mean, despite some of the things you did mention in regards to Atlantic City, but with East Orange and Atlantic City, but you get to Montclair, you have more, obviously you have your Glenfield sections and all that, but I know obviously you do have like, the more like, I guess socioeconomically better off people in Montclair here. So you probably have more resources, I'm assuming, when you got the Montclair.
Well, yeah, it was a better situation. I felt rejuvenated being in a place like Montclair. I would have felt the same way in East Orange because I knew East Orange. But, I saw very progressive African Americans in Essex County, especially in Orange and Montclair. And Montclair was a little bit different. Montclair, I always said, in order to live, and you might know this, having gone to schools, but you had to have the right attitude to be in Montclair. It wasn't like East Orange. Right. It wasn't like Orange, but it was a nice place to be, Right. And I always when I got there and started teaching there, I said Montclair is one of the few school systems where you can have the son or the daughter of a millionaire sitting next to the son of a daughter of somebody who might be receiving some sort of public assistance. Now, that's not for everybody, believe me. Right. Most of the people are very hardworking. I mean, let's just say very affluent with, working class people. Right. Right. Although there were many African Americans in Montclair who themselves were they had a lot of money too, not as many as you would like, but even the place, the Glenfield area, these are people who took pride in everything.
Absolutely.
So it was a great experience, being in Montclair. And, Montclair and East Orange, they always had their rivalry athletically and, socially to some degree. But it gave me a chance to see both sides. I saw the East Orange side. I saw the Montclair side. Mm-hmm. And, nobody can tell me that, being in both places wasn't a good thing for me personally, because I saw
absolutely
it was like being in Montclair, and I saw it was like being in East Orange. I enjoyed both places.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I could totally see that. And you as a person, I mean, I can only imagine the growth in yourself, just kind of not only the players, but just the environment as well, too. So, yeah, that's just growth. I mean, absolutely. I know, even with Montclair, so you get going with basketball, Montclair. I mean, was it just kind of you just picked up where you left off as far as coach? I know you had a little time off, but again, it's like riding a bike now.
Yeah. I came in with my philosophy from East Orange, from Atlantic City, because I took my East Orange philosophy to Atlantic City, my 2 years there, and I brought that philosophy from Atlantic City to Montclair. And my philosophy was, you got to think that you're great. Montclair is a football town. I mean, it probably still is. I've been away from New Jersey now since 2003 when I retired, but because they played great lacrosse there, they played good baseball there,
Right.
they had sports there, they had hockey in my I had, hockey. I mean, in Newark, there was only one school that played hockey, and that was Eastside. But, nobody else played hockey. Nobody in Atlantic City played hockey. But when I got to Montclair, there was a great hockey program. So they had very good athletic programs, but they were different. Once again, it gives you an experience of the differences in each of the communities, and you absorb those things.
That's right.
You don't put them down. You absorb them and say, wow, East Orange, they do this. Atlantic City, they do this. Montclair, they do this. What an experience. When I was in Atlantic City, they had teams that, Essex County never had. Montclair never had. East Orange never had. They had a rowing team in Atlantic City. And the ocean,
the order right there,
rows, They had a rifle team in Atlantic City. It just didn't happen. So you appreciate the diversity of not only the people, of the activities, So it was a great experience. Like I said, I enjoyed my time in Montclair.
Nah. And then that's good. And then I know even obviously you pick back up even with the ECTs and get back to winning. So what was 3 and 4 years, I believe?
Yeah, we did it. It took me 2 years to instill my philosophy into Montclair basketball program. But once we got it in, we made 4 consecutive appearances in the ECT. We won 3 of those. We missed out on a 4th consecutive one by missed block out. We would have blocked the guy out from Clifford Scott.
Box out.
That's right, coach. Yeah, we missed out, but I give the kids a lot of credit because they hung in there. Clifford Scott at that time was a much better team athletically, but Montclair they were determined, they were tough, and we missed that one block out. So it was a good thing, a good run.
And it's interesting.
You mentioned just 4 straight. We had done at East Orange. Up till that time, no one had won 4 straight. But Irvington later won 4 straight, and then of course Seton Hall came in. Who knows how many they won, but up to that time, it was a record.
Absolutely. And then that one loss, interesting, me talking to Mr. Tynes, he talked about that. He's like, there was no way he's supposed to beat you, this and that. And he was like, you know what? I got it. I did get that win. So he did talk about that as one of his best experiences as far as getting that win over you there.
Yeah, Greg told me, he said, he said, I'm going up against Bob Lester. I got to win that game, and hey, man, they played well and they won the game. And Greg's a great coach. I mean, Greg he was a great player. He was a great coach. He did some wonderful things there. It was interesting. It was a very interesting.
Good stuff. And I know, just how was it just playing in Walsh Gym? How was it during that time?
Well, later, after I had retired, they moved the finals of the ECT, I think the semifinals and the finals of the ECT down to County College. I never coached in Essex County College. I had retired, as I said. I did some announcing for TV3 there. But the difference between playing in Walsh Gym and playing in Essex County was like night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look forward to playing at Walsh Gym. I remember when we played there as a senior in high school, when our bus pulled up to Walsh Gym so we can get off and go into the entrance, there were already about 2,000 people standing outside. We couldn't even get to the team. So, I mean, we had to get there, 2 hours before the game.
That's right.
So we can change them when I have you. There were already 2,000 people standing outside. So they had to usher us into a side entrance. And basically that's the way it was, for many of the county games. Playing in Walls Gym just had a magic about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't describe it, but everybody who's played there, many of them old timers now. I said, I talked to my wife. I said, when my players start talking about their grandkids, it was a long time ago that I coached these guys. But many of my players, they have grandkids themselves. But going back, and you can appreciate this, going back to that time, it was special to be Boston Gym.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, I never coached in Essex County College. I don't know if those coaches had the same experience of going to Essex County College and going to, as opposed to going to Walsh. I would like to hear what how they feel. Maybe you can ask Greg, because Greg played in Walsh. Jimmy played. He coached Walsh Gymnasium. He coached probably Essex County. I wonder how he felt about the difference. But to me, it was night and day. Walsh Gym was magical.
No, I'm sure. Just looking at the video or highlights that people do show, I can only imagine. Speaking of playing at places, that Montclair, one of your Montclair teams, gets the opportunity to play at the Meadowlands.
Yes.
You guys, that was the first year they opened it up, I believe.
My first or second year, I'm not sure, but it was early. Yeah. We get a chance to play there, and when you go in, it's just caverns. There. So you come out for the final, and it's about 7,000 people there. Mm-hmm. But still, 7,000 people in a 18,000 seat arena, it did look like it was really full. But to say put everybody in the same area,
right.
It felt wonderful. But you walked out game time, you just walked out in awe. I remember, just looking around that gym, saying, holy mackerel, this is my first time there. Mackerel, we're playing in Walsh. We're playing in the Meadowlands. So it was an experience for me. It was also an experience for my players. And I was happy for them because they were able to experience that. That will live with them for the rest of their lives.
And I'm sure with you, you remember what you was wearing?
Yeah. We were wearing the white suits.
This after Labor Day.
Yeah, after Labor Day. Exactly. I said, you know what? We got to do something different. I told my assistants, I said, everybody is going to wear a white suit.
Oh, the whole coaching staff did.
The coaching staff, the entire coaching staff, we had all white suits.
And it's like Easter up in the Meadowlands.
Excuse me?
It's like Easter up in the Meadowlands here.
Yes. We all had white suits. So we played Camden in that game. And even though we didn't win, we put on a good performance, we didn't win. We were the sharpest dressed team.
It sounds like
sharpest dressed coaching staff, in the Meadowlands, all white suits. So that was something different. It was really different. It was really nice. Mm-hmm. And people still talking about it. I know some of the people who there who remember that said, we had on our Saturday night fever suits,
Travolta.
The suits. So, it was a great experience.
Nah, it's good stuff here. And I know you guys, unfortunately, came up short that game. Now, I have a question. How come did college ever cross your mind throughout your high school journey? Or were you getting calls or, inquiries about just wanting to go coach college? Or did you have any interest at all?
That's a good point. Yes, colleges did come. When I was in East Orange, well, let me put it in chronological order. After my third year at East Orange, we had won 3 consecutive state championships. We had been in 3 consecutive county finals, winning the third one. I got a call uh, because of contacts from Morgan State.
Okay.
Morgan State was interested. Their coach, whose name I won't mention at this time, they were having issues with him, and they were going to fire him. So he brought me down for an interview, and I said, yes, I'll take the job. But he had a contract, and so it became a legal issue.
Okay.
And so because he threatened to take them to court about his contract, they decided, because Morgan State, I guess, was a school that didn't have a lot of funds, they really didn't want a drawn out legal battle with this gentleman. They decided to keep him as a coach.
Okay.
So but I was going to leave East Orange after my third year, the head coach of Morgan State. Now, what I would have inherited at Morgan State was a team that was pretty good. They had a player by the name of Marvin Webster.
Marvin Webster played for the Knicks.
He not only played for the Knicks, but he went to Seattle. And remember, Seattle won an NBA title.
Dennis
Marvin
Johnson
Webster was
right
on that team. But I would have inherited Marvin Webster if I would have stayed. Maybe that's why the coach decided that he was going to make this a legal situation, but he didn't want to lose Marvin Webster.
Yeah.
So that was my first. The second was I think it was after my 4th or 5th year. Tom Young, who had coached Rutgers to the Final Four in 1976. They had one of my former players, my dad, who was on my first team, Phil Sellers, Abdel Anderson from Belleville. So they had a good team. They made it to the NCAA Final Four. And they lost both games. But anyway, they made it to the Final Four. I think it's the last time Rutgers had ever been to the Final Four. But after that season, one of his coaches left, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to be one of his assistant coaches. And I thought about it, and he wasn't offering a full-time position. He was offering a part-time position, which meant I would have had to commute from Orange to New Brunswick each day. I really didn't want to do that. So I turned that job down.
Okay.
Yeah, while I was at East Orange, there were 2 opportunities. There was another one at Montclair. That was at Ramapo. I don't know what the name of Ramapo College is now, but Ramapo's job opened up. And I said, let me try to see what the climate is for me to move into Ramapo.
Okay.
And the principal at that time was Mr. Tony Stave at Montclair. And he brought me in and said, if you take that job at Ramapo College, we're going to have to let you go here because we need that teaching position. So I said, look, Ramapo would be a type of job where I wouldn't be, again, full-time, but, I'd have to commute from wherever I was to where, up to Ramapo. So, I said, look, I'm not giving up my tenure here at Montclair, to go to that, to go to Ramapo. So I didn't take that job. But he brought me in the office and said, if you go there, you're finished here. So, but those are the 3 college opportunities I had before me.
Now, interesting. I mean, and one of the old adage, it all worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It all worked out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Then I know unexpectedly, I mean, you in coaching was some deemed to be, too early or too soon here. But again, I know there was some stuff, I believe, that was going on with you here that caused you to stop coaching, or?
Yeah, actually, it actually caused me to stop coaching was a illness. But What Montclair used to have what we call a good feeder system. They had a church program where
St. Paul's, was that still there back then?
yeah.
Okay.
And each school, they also had a intramural program where players could get a lot of experience. There was a principal at one of the middle schools. She wanted to make it so that intramurals became a situation of let everybody play.
Okay.
If you come out for the team, whether you can play the game or not, you're guaranteed a spot on the team. And that hurt our feeder system. The church leagues had begun to decline a little bit, but we weren't, to make a long story short, we weren't getting the talent that we normally would get from those feeder programs. So our program began to go down a little bit. And we had a couple of rough years there. And that system, I knew it couldn't last. It couldn't help our program because we needed those good players, the cream of the crop, to be able to play. Not just anybody who wanted to get a trophy or wanted a participation, opportunity. That it's competition. Participation is good, but it doesn't belong in the school system. But anyway, what my last year at Montclair, I didn't realize it. No, it was my second to last year coaching. After the season, I had a cerebral infarction.
Okay.
And a cerebral infarction is a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hospitalized for a period of time. Fortunately, paralysis was minimal. I still have paralysis on my right side. But, when I was in the hospital in that ward, I saw people who had total or paralysis of one side of their body because what happens in a cerebral infarction is there's a small vessel in that leads up to the brain. And if that vessel is blocked, then no air gets to the brain, and then the opposite side of the body will become affected. Who could walk, they could feed themselves. I mean, it was just funny. Fortunately, it didn't. I wasn't affected like that. I did have a blockage, and it did affect my right side. But I thought I could beat this. So after I took like 3 or 4 months off, and then I came back and tried to coach the following year, 1989. I had a stroke in 1988. I tried to come back in 1989 to coach, and it lasted five games, and I almost collapsed on a court. It was at Bloomfield High School. We were playing Bloomfield. Almost collapsed on the court. I said,
yeah.
So at 42 years, and I had hoped to coach since I was in my 60s. At 42, my coaching career was up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a gift and a curse, because and a lot of us are still gracious and happy that you're here. Obviously the curse is, to your point, you wanted to continue the coaching because it was in your blood and you pumped out coaching. That's what was in your blood here. But I think that, like I said, the gift, you're here, not only us, but obviously your family, those that you see on a day in and day out basis. So like I said, I know that just, that comes with life, as you know, and but like I said, the gift is you're still here, and that's the best gift you can have.
I never actually. I had a stroke at 42, and I was feeling so bad because I still continued to teach. I still had to support my family.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling so bad.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd live to be 50 years old. I used to struggle to work. In fact, because I had gone from being in the classroom to being a counselor, or a drug and alcohol counselor. Fortunately, I was in a unit with good man Ed Lapita, who eventually became the head football coach at Montclair.
Montclair. Yeah.
He came in and he said, Bob, he said, if you feel tired, just take a break.
Mm-hmm.
He never put any pressure on me whatsoever. Because of him, I was able to continue till I reached retirement age, which at that time I took early retirement. But because of Ed Labita, I was able to work at my own pace.
Okay.
Because it was still demanding. That counseling position was still demanding. Ed Labita was so understanding, and I really appreciate him for doing that. Probably the person who had a lot to do, not everything, a lot to do with me being able to live past 50. Because if I had to give it 100%, I always try to give Montclair 100%. No matter what I did in teaching, coaching, I tried to give them 100% because they had faith in me. I wanted to return that faith. But after that stroke, I was struggling. I mean, just there were times I used to get in that car and come from, I was living in Eastern Orange at the time, driving up to Montclair, that I said, I ain't going to make it to Montclair. I did, but because I had a very understanding unit administrator, he knew that if I needed to take a break, really appreciate it to be.
No, absolutely. I mean, good man, good man. But also say too, I mean, again, the gift is, sir, you're here. I mean, I can't say that enough here. And I think, somebody else had other plans for you. So you surpassed that 50, you knocked that 50 right out. Yeah. So like I said, so now you're here and it's great that you're here. So, even with that.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know, what are you doing with yourself now?
Well, in August, I'll be 75 years old. So I've lived 30%, 33% more than I thought I was going to live in length, in years. I'm down here in Atlanta area. I'm actually in a town called Springs, which is like 25 miles northwest of the city. I can get into the city if I wanted to. There's so many things to do down here. But I'm slowing down. I'm just enjoying retirement. This pandemic has, I put on so much weight just during this pandemic, but I'm taking it easy.
Okay, good.
I don't watch high school sports as much as I used to, because it's a change. When you watch high school basketball now, it's more about talent rather than about strategy. I used to love matching wits, but George Seller from Bloomfield and when Gray started coaching, and
the Bob Farrells of the
Blake
world,
and Orange,
the
Bob Farrell, Tim Hall. I mean, these are chess matches. Now it's so much about talent. You see guys going to schools and private schools, and they recruit you because of talent. So the strategy seems to be a little bit missing. So they're not as interesting as they used to be. But talent, I think, is really good, maybe even better. I mean, but there's not too much strategy. I'm a guy who likes strategy.
Yeah, not X's and O's. That's the coaching. That's
there you go, X's and O's. That's it.
Absolutely,
That's it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gracious of your time. Again, I can't say that enough. I wanted to know before we go though, just someone here just put you on the spot a little bit with a couple of questions, if you'd be so kind.
Okay.
All right. You got to put your jersey, your coaching hat, your NORCAT, East Orange hat on for these. So, so I'll just act like I don't see the Georgia hat that's on you. So,
okay. Come on, I forgot I'm wearing my Bulldog hat. Okay.
Yeah. So, when you was in New Jersey, did you prefer the Turnpike or the Parkway?
Ooh, that is a very good question. The Parkway was good for me because when I lived in Rawway, I could jump on the Parkway and get to Montclair or anywhere I wanted to go. I could get to Atlantic City. So I would say the Parkway, rather than the Turnpike. Um, I'll tell you one thing. When I retired, I moved to South Carolina, stayed there about 10 or 11 years, and I came down here. There's a big difference between the highways, Parkway, and the Turnpike than the highways down here. Right. They're much safer, if you ask me, than the Parkway, the Turnpike, because they're so regulated. Down here, because when we were in South Carolina, there's no inspection. People were driving cars around that. I mean, you could get behind your car and push it down the road, and it was okay. So I like the structure that they had on the Turnpike and the Parkway. But if you ask me to pick one of those two, give me the Parkway.
Okay. We'll take you back to North, kid. Central Ave or Market Street?
I used to walk both of those, when I was younger. Central Avenue, oh my goodness. I remember they used to have 3 buses that ran up and down Central Avenue, 24, 23, and 44. They used to go from Newark to Orange. That's the base of West Orange. Market Street, there was so much
lot going on
Market Street. Oh my goodness. Since I live not too far from it, I went to Central Avenue School. I went to Central High School, so give me Central Avenue.
Central Ave, okay. I'm going to get a little political, but you don't have to expand on it. Ken Gibson or James Sharp?
Sharp James?
Sharp James. Did I say James? I apologize. Sharp James. Yeah. Well, I'm messing. Sharp James, excuse me.
Ken was the first, but Sharp had that something about him. He was into athletics. He used to be a coach at Essex County College when he first. I think he was a soccer coach.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he was a soccer coach down there, and Sean James loved his sports. I saw him at some of the ECT games. So I'm gonna say, oh boy, that's because Ken was the first. He broke through.
Right.
Give me Ken Gibson.
I'm gonna stay in North here. Bragman's or Cooper's if you wanted a sandwich.
There's actually one place I like better than that. Than either of those two. I don't know if you remember, it was on South Orange Avenue. It was called the Roscommon House.
Roscommon. Okay.
And when I first started East Orange, we used to go from East Orange High School. We used to go all the way down to Newark, and then you get their sandwiches. Roast beef sandwiches they were stacked. Yeah. Corned beef or what have you. So he would have included the Roscommon House, without a doubt, the Roscommon House. But since you said Bragman's or Cooper's, give me Cooper's.
But I'm gonna have to ask my father about that. My father's a North guy. Yes. He's a Weekway guy, so I'm definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ask him about the Roscommon House.
Absolutely will. East Orange or Montclair?
East Orange gave me a chance. They gave me a chance in my own hometown, Newark.
Mm-hmm.
Give me East Orange.
Okay.
I love Montclair. Yeah. I love Montclair.
City League or Big Ten?
Woo. Since I played in the City League, I'm going to give them an edge. The City League was tough. Back then we had South Side, Central, West Side. Barringer was more football and baseball. East Side, like I said, was hockey. Weekway, I forgot who kid they were. Weekway, they were. Whoo. Yeah. So because I played in the City League, I'm going with the City League, but the Big Ten. It was amazing. But I'm going to say the City League because I'm biased to hometown.
Okay. Who's better, Bob Lester the player or Bob Lester the coach?
Bob Lester, the coach.
Could Bob Lester the
Bob
coach?
Lester, the coach. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you another story here. And, I never like to brag about anything because I know a lot of what I've accomplished was because of who I
Mm-hmm.
I belong to 5 halls of fame. I belong to the Montclair State Hall of Fame because I played there. And I belong to the Newark Hall of Fame, the East Orange Hall of Fame, the NJSIA Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But I also belong to the Fort Scott Hall of Fame.
Wow. And junior college. Yeah.
You can't. There is no reason I should be in the Fort Scott Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I was not a hall. I only played there 1 year, and I was not the best player on the team. And so I'm not a Hall of Fame player. The reason I'm in the Hall of Fame in Fort Scott, Kansas, is because they heard of what I did as a coach in New Jersey. And they wanted, because I went there, they wanted to say, well, Bob Lester's in the Hall of Fame because he's at that time we had nationally ranked teams, and so we were receiving national recognition, and I did articles for national publications. But that's the only reason I'm in the Fort Scott Hall of Fame, not because of my play, because of my coaching. So yeah, I'm in there, but it's only because of what I did as a coach, because of what I did as a player.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, the politics and just kind of the nonsense. I mean, again, I don't know obviously anything that happened out there, but just you kind of said it all with your explanation as to why they have you in the hall out there. But yeah, you said it all by saying that we could read between the lines. We could read between the lines. Best game you ever played in as a player at any level?
Well, at any level.
At any level, yeah, at any level.
Ooh. Okay, I was just gonna say in high school it had to be the state final game where we won the Group 4 state championship, and we finished as number 1 team in the state. That game I shot 6 for 7.
Okay.
But the big thing is that we played in Atlantic City, a place called Atlantic City Convention.
The convention, I've heard of that, yes.
Yeah, they sat 16,000 people. And since they had all the finals there, we were the last ones, the place was packed. There was 16,000 people there. And, being city kids coming into, my gym at Central High School, which was condemned during my senior year, incidentally, we sat 200 people. That was the maximum. Here you go, playing in a gym or playing in an arena that held 16,000 people. I was in awe of that. When I walked out, I couldn't believe it. And like I said, I had a good game. So that was my best game in high school. But as you said, I guess my best game, statistically, it would be the game, and I don't even remember who it was against. But one game in my sophomore year, I got 35 rebounds in a game. And but I think my best performance, it's a great team we were playing. Like I said, I can't remember who it was. I had 28 rebounds, and we won the game. And since we were supposed to lose that game, we were not favored to win that game. Being able to contribute 28 rebounds and 20 points, I think that happened during my junior year. Well, my junior year at Montclair, like I said, I have like a red shirt year. Fourth year in college, but that was my best individual game, 28 rebounds, 20
Yeah, the rebounds added on to the 1,000+ that you had.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
You did your homework, I said.
a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I know who I had all, but what's the best game you ever coached? Is it that one game you're like, you know what, I just nailed this one with everything. Everything just came together.
Best game I ever coached. I'm going to say this. It was my third year at East Orange, and we were playing a team in a state tournament where the North Jersey 1 team, a champion, played the North Jersey 2 team, who went to the state final. We played Teaneck.
Okay.
Teaneck was 24-3. And I think we had won 23 or whatever and 4. And they were the best team in North Jersey Section 1. We were the best team in North Jersey Section 2 and Group 3. 2 powerhouse teams. We beat them 100 and something, like 70 something. And I read, one of the reporters there wrote an article, and he said, Bob Lester was, during the first 3 quarters, he was cajoling his team. He was, shouting at his team. And, and then in the 4th quarter, he just sat down and he watched his team play. He said it was as close to perfect I've ever seen a team play. And I remember that. My team was they played such a great game that in the 4th quarter, I just sat down and watched myself. I mean, so when you say the best game I ever coached, it probably was the best game I ever watched because I didn't have to coach in the 4th quarter. I just watched them. They were amazing. They were absolutely, the writer himself wasn't one of the, the people who follow us around. It was a Star Ledger writer, he just said it was the closest I've ever seen a high school team play, the closest to perfection I've ever seen a high school team play. And that was a credit to those players that they had listened and they knew exactly what to do. It was, I was even startled at how well they played. I'll say that was the best.
It sounds like a word you used earlier when we was talking, magical. That's what that sounded like. That was just magical.
Magical.
Yeah.
Somewhere I had that article, and it was absolutely.
Now, here's where some of the fun comes in. More of the fun, actually. Who will be on your? I'm just gonna make up a team. Who will be on your all Bob Lester team?
Ooh. Okay, you know what? You're getting into an area that I said I would never get into because I did not want to compare players. The only thing I've ever said the other day, and I'll get into that, I said the best player I ever coached, either East Orange, Atlantic City, or Montclair, Mike Dabney, and he was on my first team.
Okay.
He was absolutely amazing. I never went any further than that because I did not want to compare players.
Okay.
I don't know if you're on Facebook. Well, yes, you are on Facebook. I made a comment in one of the groups that 2 of the best point guards I ever had. One was from East Orange, and one was from Montclair. That's the only comparisons ever made. I said Mike Gavin was the best player I ever coached. And then my 30-year, span, I finally came out and said 2 players that played point guard that I actually turned the team over to was one, Kenny Young, who played 73 and 74, won the state championship, 73, 74, made the finals of the county tournament, 73. We lost 74. We beat Great Times in Orange. And the other ones from Montclair, because I had him for 2 years, was Wayne Jones.
Okay.
Wayne Jones. Wayne played, we won 2 county championships. We made it to the finals of the state championship. We lost to Camden. But the only reason I said that was because my 6 years at East Orange, we only had one player who started 2 years in a row as a point guard. First year, we had Jimmy Saunders. He graduated. Second year, we had Kenny Young. Third year, we had Kenny Young. In the fourth year, we had Tyrone Miles. Fifth year, we had Ron Harris. Last year, we had Bruce Houston. So I never really, I had to coach a player at least 2 years before I would say, okay, this is your team. It never happened. I had so many good point guards. Yeah. But Dwayne Jones, I had 3 years of varsity, and he ran that team. He knew what I wanted to do. So if I wanted to say, this is what I want done, I said to Dwayne, he'd go out there and make it happen. But those are the only comparisons I've ever made. So you're asking me a question.
Totally fair.
Very tough.
No, totally fair. Totally fair. We don't have to. That's fair enough. Let's keep that intact. Totally fair. And and it's interesting when you did mention guards here from talking about, as you know, I mean, they're the extension of you on the court anyway, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
But the thing is, like I said, I turned the team over to Kenny Young, and I turned the team over to
Yes.
Now, Bobby Hurt, I only had Bobby Hurt for 1 year. He was in the first team I ever coached in Montclair. God rest his soul. If I would have had him for 2 years, he would have been another point guard because I trusted Bobby Hurt, but I only had him for 1 year.
Okay.
So he would have been the third one that I actually turned the team over to. I had to keep it to just point guards and not anybody else. It's like Clyde Bradshaw, who played at DePaul and, did such wonderful things there, and so many other great players. But I said, I made sure that this knew I was talking about just one position.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nah. Thank you for that. Can I ask though? This is not your team's at all, unless the answer is somebody from one of your teams. Like, who's probably the best basketball player you've seen? That's a loaded question, but I just thought I asked in Essex County that you've seen from Essex County.
That's a good one, because I've answered something like this before.
I think I know who you're going to say, but go ahead.
For the total work, Kelly Japuka.
Okay.
Japuka from Bloomfield, sophomore, junior, senior year. In Kelly Japuka senior year, we played them 3 times. He averaged 44 points a game.
Yeah.
Against us in those 3.
Yeah.
But the single best performance ever saw by Edgar Jones of Barrington.
Okay.
Edgar Jones had 26 points, 28 rebounds, 12 block shots. I've never seen a one-game performance like Edgar Jones. He went up, and one of my point guard, Ron Harris, lifted the ball high because he knew Edgar was going to be there. Edgar went above the square and grabbed the ball, and then one swoop, tossed it out to his teammate, and they ran it. That's great. I looked at my coaching staff, and we just, what did we just say? I mean,
what can you do? Yeah, what can you do? Yeah, what can you?
So one game, it was Edgar Jones, but the total body of work, it was Kelly Japuka.
Cool. And it's a couple of questions, and this is it. I assure you. What's the best part about being Bob Lester?
Ooh. Boy, that's a good one. The best part about being me. You know what? I said that in August, I'll be 75 years old.
Mm-hmm.
November, I will have been married for 50 years.
That's all right. That's all right.
The best thing about being me is that that woman stuck with me 50 years.
Yeah.
Because as much as I was into basketball, as much pressure as, there was on me to speak here, to do things for 50 years. So I would have to say the best thing is that that woman stuck with me for 50 years. You have to give her a lot of credit for doing that. So, but it's not so much about the best thing, it's the best thing that happened to Bob.
Mm-hmm. But that's a huge part of you, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know I wasn't an easy person to get along. There were sometimes I came home, I was like thinking about basketball. I used to stay up and think about games at 2:00 in the morning and having to be to work, 7:00 the next day.
Mm-hmm.
There were times I wasn't around for my family, and that hurt.
Yeah.
Because especially because I had 3 kids, a daughter, and 2 sons, and they needed to have that male influence around. And having that stroke hurt me a lot because when they were coming up, because one of my sons played baseball and basketball for Broadway High School, the other played baseball for Broadway High School. But because of the effects of that stroke, they were like in high school. I couldn't get out there and show them. I couldn't get out there and throw the balls with them. I couldn't show them how to hold the bat. I mean, when you take that away from them, not being able to show your sons how to do, I mean, that was devastating to me. Because they needed me then, and I couldn't. That's I guess you would say that's one of my biggest things. Not being able to be there.
Mm-hmm. But I would say, sir, even as a new father for me, so I have a 7-year-old. I waited forever to have one, but I have a 7-year-old. So it hits home when you say that, but it also just shows as far as even physically maybe not being able to do some things with them, but I'm sure they have a wealth of jewels that you've shared with them throughout their lives that, they're probably telling themselves now, like, I'm acting like my father. So that says a whole lot if that's what they're saying to themselves. So, so outside of physical stuff, the other stuff that they've taken with them is, so I'm sure it's sticking with them to this day, all of them. If they're saying something about, I'm acting like my father, you did your job. You did your job, sir.
I think, they're some of the things they've shown me over the last few years, I'll be able to say to myself, they're satisfied with some of the things that I did, examples that I set. That made me feel so good.
Absolutely.
But I would say to you, your son, love him unconditionally.
Actually, it's a daughter, so I'm not.
It's a daughter. Love her unconditionally because 30 years from now, you won't be able to go back.
That's right. Yeah.
You become the best father you can to your daughter. Love her and do the things where she can say, I'm proud of what my father did for me. It's important. Then you're affecting lives. And then she in turn do the same thing. Because children, in many cases, they imitate with their parents. You are loving and show love to her. Show love, they will do it to their kids. So that's my piece of advice to you, because that's what I have learned. So,
advice taken is interesting you say that, because that's one of my models to myself. My job is to make her proud of me. Yeah, that's my job, make her proud. I say every day that's my thing with her. Mr. Lester, I'm very, very humble like I said, I'm like a kid in a candy store. As I said to you, when you first got on here, just the life that you've lived, the people you influenced. One of old coach of mine, and I always steal this from him. You talking about stealing from coaches earlier. I take this, this quote he says. He just talks about, as far as you engrave your name in the hearts of kids, you live forever. Well, you're gonna be here forever, Mr. Lester. And again, I just wanted to say thank you. Like, you being officially you helped me be officially me indirectly here. Just kind of one, not only as athletes, but as a Black man, and obviously the times that are going on now here, you lived a lot of stuff you talked about, again, growing up in the 60s in Newark with the riots. You talked, even going out to Kansas, the stuff you endured out there, so today, what's going on today is probably just nothing you ain't never seen before, kind of what's going on, but like I said, I just think just having, individuals such as yourself still around to just share and just talk. I mean, I'm pretty much speechless, to be honest with you. And but again, I just wanted to just say thank you just for all that you've done. Not only in the schools, your family, just your life in general here. You didn't let. I know you just shared, obviously disappointments about you abruptly having to stop coaching, but you didn't let that stop you. And I told you the gift is you're still here. The heck with coaching and all that stuff, you're still here. To just share, your wisdom upon all of us here, sir. And like I said, I thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking time out to talk to me. That's all I can say. Like I said, I'm pretty much speechless.
Well, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. And you're doing a great thing. Like I said, when I saw that sample of Great Times, saying this is a good thing that this is being done. So congratulations to you. Keep up the good work. And, always remember, you can always improve. You can always do something, shock the world, in a very positive way. And if you keep going, you keep having a confidence in yourself, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. And hopefully I'll be around to say, I had an interview with Quran, and I'm glad that I did. This has been a wonderful experience because you have given me an opportunity. You've asked some very challenging questions, made me dig deep. And I appreciate that because you gave me the opportunity to go places into my heart and into my mind. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you. And just, again, I'm gonna just steal something from you that you mentioned earlier. I mean, your job is to be great, and that's what you were, and that's what you are. Never mind past tense. That's what you are, and that's what I'm striving to be. So, again, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lester. I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Be safe, everyone down there, your family, everybody, and like I said, we'll get out of this whole pandemic. I mean, we survivors. We'll be fine. But wish you well and safe and everything else there, sir.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Yeah. Like I said, this has been great. I'm speechless.